When I opened my eyes, there was no sound. Only the faint hum of fluorescent light leaking through a narrow ceiling vent. The air tasted metallic. I sat up slowly, trying to remember where I was, but every image slipped away as soon as I reached for it. A hospital bed, white sheets, my hands wrapped in gauze, the smell of antiseptic. For a moment, I thought I could still hear the music box melody, the one that always played in my dreams, but it was faint, like a memory breathing somewhere behind the walls. A door clicked open. Someone walked in. A nurse, maybe, or a shadow pretending to be one. She asked something, but I couldn't understand the words. My ears caught only fragments. Awake, lucky, alive. I nodded even though I didn't know what she meant. When she left, the room shrank around me. I stared at the window, expecting daylight, but outside was only fog, rolling and pulsing like it was alive. Sleep came even though I didn't want it to. One blink and I was standing barefoot on a wet floor. The corridor again, long, endless, carved from metal. Red lights blinked overhead, slow and patient. The air was cold enough to bite. Water dripped from somewhere, counting time in uneven beats. I started walking because standing still felt worse. The echo of my steps bounced forward and came back slower, as if someone else was walking just a few seconds behind me. I turned a corner and saw the door. The same black door that always waited at the end. My hand reached for the handle before I could think. The moment I touched it, the metal pulsed warm beneath my skin like it was alive. The door opened into a small room lit by a single bulb hanging on a wire. A mirror covered the far wall. It was cracked through the middle, splitting my reflection in half. In the mirror, I wasn't alone. Behind me stood the woman from the dream, her hands still clutching the music box. She whispered softly, her voice stretched thin like glass about to break. "You never wake up the same, you leave pieces behind." I turned, but there was no one there. The bulb flickered, the mirror trembled, and suddenly the reflection moved when I didn't. It smiled, eyes black and endless, and took a step toward the glass. I stumbled back. The mirror reached outward, rippling like water, and cold fingers brushed my wrist. I pulled free and ran, the hallway stretching in every direction. The lights above started blinking faster. Each flash showed another version of me standing further down the corridor, still, silent, watching. I screamed, but no sound came out. My throat ached with the effort. The ground tilted beneath my feet. I fell forward and hit something soft. It was a bed. My bed. I was back in the hospital. My heart was pounding so hard, the monitor beside me began to beep in panic. A nurse rushed in, shouting for help, but her words dissolved into static. The room filled with white noise, buzzing louder until I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. I pressed my hands to my ears, and when I opened my eyes again, the hospital walls were gone. Now I was standing in a house I didn't recognize. Old wallpaper peeled from the corners, furniture draped in sheets. The smell of dust and old rain filled the air. I walked through the hallway, touching the walls just to feel something real. On a small table by the stairs sat the same music box. It was open, turning slowly, playing that same broken melody. A voice whispered from upstairs. "You're almost home." I climbed the steps. The boards creaked beneath me, each one echoing down the empty house. At the top of the stairs, a door stood ajar. Light pulsed through the crack, steady like a heartbeat. I pushed it open and froze. The room was covered in photographs, hundreds of them, pinned and taped to every surface. All of them were of me, sleeping, standing, walking down streets I didn't remember. Some were blurred as if taken from behind glass. In the center of the floor lay the mirror, cracked and dark, humming quietly. My reflection inside it blinked at me and smiled again. I whispered, "Who are you?" The reflection mouthed back the same words. Then it raised its hand and pressed a finger to the glass. The surface began to ripple. The melody from the music box grew faster, distorted. I felt something pulling from behind my eyes, like invisible hands trying to peel my skin away from my bones. I fell to my knees, screaming without sound. When I looked again, the reflection was gone. The mirror showed only the empty room, but I wasn't in it anymore. I could see my own body kneeling there, head down, trembling. I was on the other side of the glass now. I hit the surface, shouted, begged, but no one heard. The world beyond the mirror began to fade. The woman entered the room, picked up the music box, and whispered softly, "You always come back." She closed the lid. Everything went silent. Then, darkness again. Time didn't exist there. Only the hum of metal, the echo of my own heartbeat. I walked through corridors that folded back on themselves, through doors that led nowhere. Sometimes I saw people from the hospital wandering the halls, blank-eyed, whispering pieces of my own memories. One of them held a flashlight that didn't cast light. Another dragged a radio that only played breathing. At some point, I found a window. It showed a night sky with no stars. My reflection was still wrong. Its lips moved before mine. It whispered, "This is not a dream, it's a recording." The walls pulsed. I understood then that none of it was alive. The corridor, the door, the woman, the music box. They were all echoes of things that had already happened. I was walking through a memory that didn't belong to me. I started to forget my own voice, the shape of it, the rhythm. When I tried to speak, the air came out flat and broken. I found a room full of clocks, all ticking backward. In the center of the room was a bed. On it lay someone sleeping. I stepped closer and saw my own face. The sleeper's lips moved, whispering, "Don't wake me." I touched the body and everything shattered. Light poured in through the cracks like water flooding a room. I gasped and opened my eyes to daylight for the first time in what felt like years. I was lying on a couch in a small apartment. Outside, cars passed, people talked, real sounds, real life. My heart thudded with relief. On the table nearby sat a small cardboard box marked evidence. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was the music box. I reached for it. My fingers hesitated. The tag attached read, "Case closed." I turned it over and saw a note written in handwriting that was undeniably mine. "Don't play it again," I laughed. A dry, trembling sound. Then, like some part of me had been waiting for it, I opened the lid. The first note played slow and cracked. The air shifted. The walls seemed to breathe. Somewhere behind me, a voice said softly, "You never left." The light dimmed. The apartment bent in on itself. My reflection in the window smiled with those same black eyes. I dropped the box, but the melody kept playing, faster now, louder, until it drowned out my heartbeat. The world around me melted back into the same corridor, the same rust, the same sound of dripping water. I looked down and saw the knife again, the metal cold and familiar against my skin. I took a step forward. The red light flickered on above me. The echo of footsteps followed. I whispered one last time, "Wake up," but nothing changed. The lights went out, and the melody kept playing.